Okay, so I'm Alyssa Ahrabare. I'm the president of the French coordination for the European Women's Lobby. Our organization is co-organizing this symposium with Osez le Féminisme, which is represented by Céline Pic that we heard earlier today. The French coordination for the European Women's Lobby is a platform of women's rights organizations. We represent 80 member organizations here in France, and we are also a member of the European Women's Lobby, which is the greater, biggest feminist force in Europe with a network of 2,000 women's rights organizations. So through this network, we actively monitor and participate to the EU legislative processes related to women's rights. And notably, we've been really interested and in participating in the analysis and negotiations around the Violence Against Women Directive that we will talk about in this panel. We have the chance to have Evin Inche with us to speak, who had the first-hand experience in dealing with this file. But before I give the floor to our panelists, I would like to say a few words of introduction regarding the different topics that will be covered in this panel and through the day. First of all, it has been made clear already with the first presentations, we are witnessing in the past few years, or I would say in the past decade, an explosion of the forms of digital violence. But a first point maybe that is important to mention is that these digital violences are intertwined within the continuum of existing violence against women and girls and violence against children. It is not so much new forms of violence that are emerging, but new tools that are used to facilitate existing forms of violence that find their roots in existing systems of inequality and domination. Regarding the specific forms of violence against women and girls online, which are mentioned in the directive, so Evin Inche will speak about this, but it relates notably to the non-consensual sharing of intimate pictures, as well as cyber stalking, cyber harassment, and incitement to misogynist hatred. So all of these forms of violence, so far, they have been really absent from the EU and international legal frameworks. And this is an important thing to mention because today we will address different instruments, especially EU legal instruments, and also regulations such as the Digital Service Act or the AI Acts that are very relevant to our discussion. These instruments that aim to regulate the digital space, they overlook the specific risks of these forms of violence and notably the use of artificial intelligence specifically to facilitate violence against women and girls. Notably, we can mention the use of deep fake pornography, which is not mentioned in the AI Act explicitly as a use of the artificial intelligence that is unacceptable or carries high risks, which is the case for other use of artificial intelligence, such as what poses a threat to democracies, which I agree is an unacceptable use of artificial intelligence, but so is deepfake pornography, which is used to silence women and girls, which also has a negative impact on democracy and political life, but is also harmful in many other ways, and a public health issue. I also wanted to mention that the legal frameworks that we have that are more general, such as GDPR, which mentions what is called the right to be forgotten. So it's basically our right to privacy and to have control over our own image online. This is not applied to consistently to different social media platforms and especially pornography platforms where images, intimate images or videos of sexual violence are leaked, and then there is close to no recourse for women and girls, for victims to take these images out of the internet. This is something that was mentioned by Céline Pic. This is something that I think we will speak about several times today, because this is one of the key issues when it comes to victims of these forms of violence. The presence of these materials online leads to constant re-victimization. It leads to something that has been defined by survivors as a social death, because they could be recognized at their work, in the streets, they could be rejected from their own families, they could risk also other additional forms of violence, such as physical, sexual violence, even femicides, when their relatives learn or see the images. So it has, of course, deep consequences. Regarding the non-consensual sharing of intimate pictures, what I wanted to mention is that it is not a new phenomenon, in the sense that already in 1980 in the US, there was a trial where several women sued the magazine Hustler, so you know, this pornography magazine that was also very, let's say, hardcore. They sued the magazine to say that the magazine published, without their consent, intimate pictures of them. So it actually is a historic fact that the pornography, the sexual commercialization industry has been exploiting the image of women without their consent to make profits for now decades. And of course, with the use of internet, which now makes the content very accessible, free, and anonymous, and easily available, this has exploded. And it's more than time now that legal frameworks get up to date with this reality. In terms of consequences, I mentioned the social death, but I also really want to highlight that these forms of violence against women and girls online are really used as a tool of control by perpetrators. So Evinencia will speak about cyberstalking, which is in the directive. It is one specific example of how technology can be used in an overall context of coercive control and an existing context of domestic violence or intimate relationship violence. This now is, new technologies are being used to strengthen the control that the perpetrators have over the victims. And maybe to finish, I wanted to speak about deepfake pornography. This afternoon, Delphine O, who is ambassador for the Generation Equality Forum, she will speak about artificial intelligence in the context of violence against women and girls more specifically. But I think it is very important to mention that 68% of the access to deepfake pornography goes through Google. And so there is a responsibility also of these search engines, these big platforms. They are not innocent in this system of promoting and profiting from violence against women and girls. And so today we are trying to look at all the actors that need to be concerned with this topic. So it's not only the platforms themselves, but it's also the internet providers, it's also the search engines, and so on and so forth. And of course, the perpetrators themselves and the states, as well as the international and EU and European institutions, because there is a need for collaboration and cross-border action. This is something that exists in other areas, such as the fight against terrorist content. There is a regulation that explains how the collaboration between states in the EU must happen when it comes to terrorist content shared online, with very effective ways to take away this content within 1 hour after it is flagged. And this does not apply to content of rape and extreme forms of violence, including torture, that we can find very easily on the internet.